Good morning, everyone. This is Nate, also known as MC Nate, back again with another YouTube video, and welcome to another tale from the road. SuperCub? That's right. Good morning, everybody. Having to eat the microphone so the Cardo can actually pick up my voice. Although the GoPro should still be able to hear me now, so I'll probably switch those microphones during the ride when the wind starts to get loud. But today, with Chris, we are heading to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, doing a little overnight trip up there. And I am just about as packed can get. So just to give everyone a quick show of what I'm packing for a small weekend trip. We've got the Rhino Walk 30-liter pannier bag, and that's got, well, I guess you wouldn't call that a pannier bag, it'd be a roll bag. It's a dry bag, but anyway, it's got my toiletries, rain gear, a couple of changes of clothes, and I think some shorts and sandals. Really just enough for a weekend trip away. And then in the lockable Apache 4800 case on the back of the Cub, we've got the paperwork for the bike, charging cables, the charger for my MacBook, and below that, it's a 2012 MacBook Pro running Linux. It can run the latest and greatest of Linux. It can't run the latest and greatest of Mac OS, but more on that later. So it's running Ubuntu. It's my travel machine. It's an older i7, 16 gigs of RAM. It's enough that I can start to dump GoPro content from the SD card and then get it onto the SSD in here, just to free up the GoPro. Rain-X, or rather a windshield cleaner. I think it's Rain-X brand. Yeah, Rain-X glass cleaner and rain repellent. Works great on the helmet. And then clean the regular windshield with it. A microfiber and an extra quart of oil for the Cub. Not that it necessarily has a burning issue, but when you're running this little motor at full tilt boogie for 97 miles like I am today, it's hard on the little motor, and it will sometimes from time to time burn oil. So we've got everything packed in here, and I like packing some stuff in here because I can lock it. So this is a fool's errand trying to do this one-handed. So all I do is I just put the lock through there in the corner. And now it's locked. Now, I've never strapped that on the back before, so we'll see how that goes. Alright, so you saw how I've got the MacBook in here, the Rain-X. I forgot sunscreen for if I have to take my riding gear off because it's too hot. Oops. I said that would be a mistake I wouldn't be soon to, where I wouldn't ever make again, but I wouldn't be soon to make, and I guess I've been soon to make it. I've got my Rhino Walk pannier bag here all mounted up, and the fact that it's shaking the whole bike, I don't think it's going anywhere. I've got two cargo nets over it, and I've got a bungee on the left and a bungee on the right holding it on. They would have probably been enough, but the cargo net makes me feel better. And I'm going to be carrying, once I get to Chris's and we do a little bit more loading up, I'm going to be carrying a 1-gallon gas can because there's definitely going to be some range anxiety today. By the time I get to Chris's, that'll basically be half of my fuel supply, and while I can fill up in town, I really like running ethanol-free gas in these little beasts. And where he lives, it is illegal in that county to sell ethanol gas. So, or I shouldn't say illegal, but it's outlawed. I don't know, is that the same as illegal? I don't know, English was a minor in college. Can't say I really paid attention though. But at any rate, today is going to be significant for the Cub because we are sitting at 952 miles, and I believe getting to Chris will pump me up over 1,000. So that'll just be so totally awesome. As you can tell, my bag there in the middle it has disappeared. That's where I'm going to try to mount a gallon gas can today. So I've actually got the ratchet strap I intend to use to hold it down in my riding gear. It's in both of my pockets because by the time I loaded this whole thing down, I'm like, oops, I don't have an easy way to get in here to access more stuff. So I'm going to get outside of town, cross over a set of railroad tracks, and probably after that, well, you'll be here to watch. Check on this cargo, make sure nothing's falling off, make sure I'm still comfortable with how it's secured. So, without further ado, let's get on the road.
Alright, I did not take a photo of the weather forecast like so many other cool YouTubers do, but it's about 57 degrees and high humidity this morning. High enough that even though I'm moving along, it's still enough to fog my visor up. So there might be some wind noise in this recording, I don't know. I hope you don't pull out. I mean, crash content does go viral, but I'd rather it not be my crash content. Now I've got this little cub just wound out, getting above 50. Sitting about 3/4 throttle-ish. Maybe a little bit more. I adjusted the windshield so it wouldn't smack against the dash. It looks like it was too little too late because the dash was starting to get torn up. Sorry, SuperCub. I can still see in the in my shadow from the sun. Oh, it's done disappeared now. There we go. I can see in my shadow that my pack is still there. I must have secured it pretty good then. Absolutely gorgeous morning. It is about 57 degrees, and I'll be the first one to tell you, it's chilly. At least the speed. Although a good bit of air gets displaced and thrown off of me by the windshield here, so it's not too terrible. This has been a great little setup and a great windshield. I gotta get the sunglasses mode engaged. Right into it now. Oh, coming in this turn a little bit too hot. There we go. So there's going to be another set of railroad tracks up here that I cross, but there's a parking lot just before it that we're going to stop and check my pack in. I didn't check the oil before I left today, but I'm sure it's fine. It was fine the last time I checked it, and I haven't put a lot of miles on it between now and then. To get the side stand installed on this thing. Alright. Yep, everything's still here. It's kind of precarious how it's done, but it's done. And it shakes the bike pretty effectively instead of rattling off. So that's good. Man, the camera's still on my face. We're doing good today. So awesome. Alright, that's still attached. Let's get back on the road. I think we're good. I cannot see the pack when I'm sitting here at the seat, so I do have to get off and check from time to time. Although I'm feeling pretty confident in it. Yep, visor down, because cold. But yeah, this little setup's been doing incredibly well. This bike's been averaging well in excess of 100 miles per gallon. I want to say its long-term average since I've started tracking it in May has been at least 110, according to Fuelie. I've got the most recent fill up and then whatever I determined from this trip to throw in as well. But I want to say the last tank got 108, which would bring the average of 110 down by 1 to at least 109. So I've been absolutely blown away by what this little machine's been able to accomplish. 1,000 miles on 8 horsepower, that's a lot. I did a lot of running around on this little thing. Hello, bird. That could have been interesting. I'm like, I keep looking back expecting there to be like a line of traffic behind me, because normally whenever I cut across this road, it's just before, during, or after rush hour, when there's still a good bit of volume. There's no volume on it today, which is great. Well, it's still 8:35 in the morning. I was up at about 7 to start packing up. Of course, well, the alarm went off at 7. I didn't get my butt out of bed until about 7:30. Because, you know, the bed's comfortable and getting up sucks, yo. This windshield is rocking back and forth, which is causing vibrations in the handlebars. I need to find a way that I can shove something under the lip of this windshield so it stops vibrating. But I need like a rubber bushing or something. Oh. Pack is still on. Whoops. Come back here, bike. It's supposed to get up to it's supposed to get up to 86 some degrees today, which, well, we'll see how humid it'll be. So if this morning is anything to tell by, it's going to be a humid, sticky one today. 2 miles to Shepherdstown. Phone's charging nicely. I hope I'm not tapping the stator on this bike too hard. After talking to Quasi and a few folks in his server, it seems to me that a phone charger and 2 extra headlights should be just about all the more this bike can push out in terms of power-wise. 2 5-watt LEDs and a phone charger, which I don't have the LEDs on it yet, but good lord, does this thing need extra light at night. Oh, it's pathetic. One of the guys on the Quasi Discord server is trying to sell a Trail 125, and he's selling it for a really good price, and I am kind of tempted to run down and get it, because he's got the bark busters on it, he's got a bunch of modifications on it. My only thing is, it's not as fast as this SuperCub. I say it's not as fast. We're talking like a top speed of 45 to 50 versus 50 to 55, which around here does make a difference. Like even the routes we're going to take today, when we take Business 15 through Pennsylvania, the speed limit's still between 50 and 55, even though the main road next to it's 60 to 65. So that unfortunately does make a little bit of a difference, or a lot of a difference rather, in rideability. So I could probably change the gearing on it, like the tooth count of the rear sprocket or the front sprocket, to give it a little bit more top end, but then you start really modifying the bike and you're kind of getting away from what it originally was. I still haven't done a sprocket mod on this. I've been quite happy with where it's been settling in at. It does have its little, it is running its little, I am running the piss out of it. I mean, this thing's just screaming when I've got it up to speed, but it also, that's where its power band is at, because it's a little motor and it likes to rev, and it needs to rev to make power. So it's a necessary evil. Honda knew what they were doing. Everyone's out walking their dogs this morning. My dopamine levels are increasing by the minute. All the doggies. Alright, what are y'all gonna do? Excited doggy. Cop is definitely looking at my bike. Wonder if he'll turn out and follow me. Oh yes, it's a SuperCub, sir. I had a very interesting experience this week. I test rode a 1990 Honda Goldwing. That's the GL 1500. Was the SE, fully loaded, had every option, bell and whistle you could possibly imagine out of a Goldwing in the 90s. And it starts, you know, not me actually browsing Facebook Marketplace, which is rare because that's how most of my bad ideas start. So, my father, of all people, sent a photo of this Goldwing to me. And they want, in my opinion, way too much money for it. They want $5,500 for a 1990 Goldwing with 29,000 miles. And their justification is it's had all the major services done, Every hose, belt, or otherwise that could be replaced was replaced, so the timing belts were both done. Coolant flush, final drive fluid, you name it, the work got done, and they got receipts for it all. So cool, but it's still a 1990 Honda Goldwing. Book says it's only worth about $1,000 to $1,500. Heck, the book only says my Harley's worth about $1,500. The books are down right now on the motorcycle community in terms of used sales or used prices. So anyway, well, I test rode this bike because you know what? I want to go see it. Maybe I'll go, test ride it, wait a couple days, and lowball them an offer. And I get on it, and I'm glad I was able to get back off of it. I loved the ride. Felt comfortable as all crazy. It's just all get out. You can lean back. The handlebars reached out to use at the cruise control. Got the tunes on. And then I came up to a crosswalk where somebody was about to cross. So I was going to squeeze the clutch and start to slow down and realize the bike is fighting me. Wait a minute, this isn't right. Why is it fighting me? These Goldwings are known for stopping and starting. Goldwings are known for their ability to stop pretty quickly and go pretty quickly. What gives? And I go to squeeze the clutch again, and then the clutch wants to disengage a little bit more. And I'm like, wait a minute. This hydraulic clutch has something wrong with it. So this bike does not want to stop, and every time I'm squeezing the clutch, since the clutch won't fully disengage, I'm not able to shift to neutral to stop. And I'm near approaching lockup, and fortunately this older gentleman who's crossing the crosswalk in front of me, watching this all take place, realized what was happening. So he wasn't crossing, he was about halfway in the crosswalk looking at me, expecting me to stop. And I was able to bring it under control and stop it. And then I stalled, immediately trying to start again, because the minute I let the clutch go just a tiny fraction of it, just a little bit. I guess there was air in the hydraulic clutch line because it stalled. And it's like, oh, that's just great. Me stalling a bike, I haven't done that in a while. I only stalled the Harley once or twice in the time I've owned it, so it's very unusual for me to stall. Not saying it can't happen, not saying I'm like Jesus when it comes to bikes or something, but something relatively rare. It just doesn't happen unless I'm just having an off day. And on this, it's impossible. Well, I won't say impossible. Leave it to me, I'll find a way. So I get through town, and I'm like, I just don't feel safe on this thing. I got to turn it around. Oh, before that, the clutch safety switch is out of it, so you've got to get it to neutral every time you start it, which if you're at a standstill is no big deal. But if you're stuck in traffic and then it stalls because the clutch is out of adjustment or has air in the hydraulic lines or whatever, and you're in first gear, you can't get it back down to neutral unless you rock this 900-pound bike backwards up a hill. Yeah, that was not fun. So I get it back through town, and I'm like, I just don't feel safe on this thing. I just don't like it. I'm going nuts. It stalls again in neutral with no load, and I'm like, this bike is warmed up by now. It might not be perfectly warmed up, but it should be warm enough that, the carbs shouldn't be giving any issue. So I get it back to the owner, and I'm like, dude, what the heck? What's going on, man? I knew this thing, was going to have, a little hitch in the giddy-up because you haven't rode it a whole lot, but, this is not good. I explained the clutch thing, and he's like, oh, it did it to you too? And I'm like, yeah, it did. Would have been nice to know. He goes, oh, I did it to you once in the Safeway parking lot down the road. I didn't think it would do it again. You failed to disclose that to me before I hopped up on it. My pack is still on. So, might call me crazy, but if it's just a clutch bleed, you can top bleed a Goldwing in about 10 minutes. They're not hard to do. And if you gotta start taking stuff apart to do a more in-depth one, you're talking about an hour or so of labor, but it's also not difficult to do. So I do wonder what it would need to fix that problem. Uh-oh, somebody's speeding through Sharpsburg. Uh-oh. Get him. They're actually pulling somebody up from speeding through this town. It must be a slow morning for the Washington County Sheriff's Department. That's the first time I've ever seen somebody get pulled over in this town, actually. And there's been a lot of people who've sped through this town, egregiously. But I digress. I guess the constables are out today, so we'll do our best not to speed, which, well, considering there's hills and this thing only has 8 horsepower, should be pretty easy to do. So yeah, so you might call me crazy, but I'm thinking about entertaining an offer for it, because if it's just a clutch bleed or basic clutch work, it's not hard to do. I'm kind of mechanically inclined. I just don't record a lot of the stuff I do, like when I modify the bikes and stuff, like when I put this different phone mount adapter on, when I put the mirror extensions on. I'm not going to record any of that. One, because I don't have somebody to record, but two, like I can never get the right angle when I'm filming like an installation or a bike modification or something, because I move around a lot to get to work on something. And I just don't like futzing with the camera while I'm doing that. It's more of a distraction to me. So like when I did the brake and oil change on this, I had Chris there that day, and he was my camera guy, and that worked. Now granted, it didn't take a whole lot of angles to really film that video. Like I didn't have to change angles, I didn't have to give you the best view I could, but I wanted to because I'm trying to do good by my viewers, all 21 of my subscribers. Thank you, by the way. I want to do right by y'all and give you some interesting content, which is why I try to tell stories and have stuff lined up to talk about that I find interesting, and I hope you do too.